But first, the pivotal decision giving Texas more control of the crisis at the border. The state can now enforce its immigration law after a ruling came down just hours ago from the U.S. Supreme Court. Senior political reporter Jason Whiteley has been following reaction from state lawmakers. And what did they tell you?
Cynthia, this is a huge political win for Texas Republicans. The big question tonight, though, is how soon will Texas really start enforcing this law? Let's talk about what did and what did not happen today. The U.S. Supreme Court did not block this law from going into effect, so it lets local and state police detain anyone they suspect of entering the country illegally. The Department of Justice sued to stop this, arguing immigration law is a federal responsibility, not a state one. But since justices did not block the law from going into effect, the Department of Justice now has to make its case to a lower court, an appeals court, asking that court to put the Texas law on hold while this appeal plays out. Here's the controversy. Texas says this is not racial profiling, but the bill's author, David Spiller, he's a Republican from Jacksboro. He insists this is not a show me your papers law like Arizona had, but immigration advocates say this one really strikes fear in Hispanic communities across the state.
There's no requirement for anyone to show any papers. And so when I hear that, it's upsetting because it's so unnecessary. This is not, we're not going out and trying to round up people, round up someone's grandmother that's been here for 50 years. The law enforcement officer is going to have to see, observe, or otherwise know where someone crossed illegally, when they did it, who did it, where they did it, how they did it, the manner and means in which it was done, to be able to prove their case.
We believe this law is unconstitutional, it's unchristian, immoral, and un-Texan. Texans don't treat people this way. Governor Abbott, I don't know what church you go to, but does your pastor believe that Jesus would do this to fellow Christians and refugees and people looking for a better life?
So tonight we are expecting more information from Governor Abbott's office about specifics of what happens next. DPS says it's only going to arrest people that troopers see visually crossing the Rio Grande, but the state law is written to let police in Texas go much further and arrest anyone in Dallas and Amarillo and Texarkana, people hundreds of miles from the border. And because of that, opponents say the legal fight around this one is far from over, Cynthia.
All right, Jason, thank you. And we have been reaching out to local police departments to see how they will implement this new immigration law. And Dallas Police Chief Eddie Garcia says, quote, until we have more clarification on the law, update Dallas Police Department's procedures and general orders, and provide additional training to ensure the protection of individual civil rights, we will adhere to the current general orders. Fort Worth's police chief came forward yesterday saying the primary responsibility for immigration enforcement and border protection should be left to federal and state partners. And within the last hour, House Speaker Dade Phelan released a statement specifically responding to Fort Worth PD. He writes, unbelievable. Compliance with state law is not optional. It is mandatory. Any local law enforcement agency that refuses to enforce Senate Bill 4 is abandoning their sworn duty to uphold the rule of law.